The retired K-9 refused to leave the grave. Snow drifted quietly across the cemetery outside Quietus, Montana, while mourners disappeared one by one into black SUVs after the funeral. Only the dog stayed. Large German Shepherd. Gray around the muzzle. Military posture even in old age. The K-9 sat perfectly beside the fresh grave beneath freezing mountain wind while everyone else walked away, including the family. That was the moment retired Navy SEAL Nathan Creed noticed something was wrong. Very wrong. The dog didn't cry, didn't bark, didn't pace. He simply watched the casket disappear beneath frozen earth like part of him had been buried too. Nathan stood near the cemetery gate silently observing. He came only to pay respects to his former teammate, Master Chief Harold Bennett, retired SEAL, K-9 handler, quiet legend, the kind of man younger operators whispered about. Harold survived Fallujah, Blackwater extraction missions, mountain rescues in Afghanistan. But cancer still got him in the end. Funny how life worked. Nathan adjusted his coat against the Montana cold while snow covered the old mining town roads below the cemetery ridge. Quietus barely counted as a town anymore. Half-abandoned storefronts, rusted mining equipment, one diner, one gas station, and now one less good man. The German Shepherd still hadn't moved. Harold's family barely acknowledged the dog while leaving. That bothered Nathan immediately, because operators bonded with K-9s deeper than most families understood, sometimes deeper than blood. Then one of Harold's grandsons stopped beside the grave briefly. Late 30s, expensive coat, impatient posture. He sneered toward the dog. Somebody better take that thing. Nathan's expression changed instantly. Cold, controlled, dangerous. The grandson kept walking. Another relative answered casually, "Animal control's coming tomorrow." The German Shepherd's ears lifted slightly, hearing the voices. Not fear. Recognition. The dog knew exactly what abandonment sounded like. Nathan stared after the family vehicles disappearing downhill through falling snow, then back toward the grave. The K-9 remained perfectly still beside Harold. Loyalty beyond death. Good dog. Very good dog. Nathan finally approached slowly through the snow. The German Shepherd turned instantly. Sharp eyes despite old age. Military awareness. Controlled posture. Nathan stopped several feet away automatically. Respect. The dog studied him carefully. Then something unexpected happened. The old K-9 stood slowly, walked directly toward Nathan, and dropped a worn leather collar at his feet. Not random. Intentional. Nathan crouched carefully beside it. The collar looked ancient. Handmade. Weather-damaged. Engraved on the inside leather. Ranger, never leave him behind. Nathan's chest tightened instantly. Harold's old deployment dog. Jesus Christ. This wasn't just a retired K-9. This was Ranger. The Ranger. Stories about this dog existed across teams for years. ID detection. Mountain extraction. Saved entire units twice. Nathan looked back toward the grave slowly. Harold never talked about Ranger after retirement. Now Nathan understood why. The old dog sat beside him silently, waiting. Then Nathan noticed something else attached beneath the collar. A small brass key. The brass key shouldn't have existed. Nathan turned it carefully between gloved fingers while snow drifted across the cemetery. Tiny, old-fashioned, hand-filed edges. Not house key size. Safe deposit size. Interesting. Very interesting. Ranger watched him closely the entire time. The retired K-9's eyes stayed intensely focused despite age and exhaustion. Like Harold trained him to wait for this exact moment. Nathan looked toward the grave again. What did he leave behind, old man? Ranger stood immediately. Then started walking downhill through the cemetery snow, stopping once, looking back. Follow me. Nathan almost laughed softly. Still giving commands, huh? The dog continued toward the abandoned mining district near Old Quietus. Not toward town. Not toward the funeral reception. Away from people. The mountain wind sharpened harder, while snow buried old tire tracks across the ghost town streets below. Nathan followed automatically. Years of SEAL work conditioned him to trust trained K-9 instincts before human assumptions. Ranger moved slowly now. Old hips. Arthritic stiffness. But precise. every step intentional. Nathan studied the dog carefully while they crossed the abandoned mining road leading toward the Bennett property outside town. Something bothered him deeply already. Harold's family ignored Ranger too easily, too coldly. Men like Harold treated K9 partners as family. Meaning if the relatives discarded Ranger this fast, they cared more about inheritance than loyalty. Bad sign. Very bad sign. Then Nathan spotted them. 3 black SUVs parked outside Harold's cabin near the frozen treeline. Family still there, arguing loudly. Nathan slowed immediately. Ranger growled low beside him. Not fear. Disgust. Interesting. Voices echoed through the snow-covered property. You said there was a second vault. Another voice snapped back. We searched already. Nathan's instincts sharpened instantly. Vault? Now we're getting somewhere. Ranger moved silently toward the side of the cabin, staying hidden beneath the old porch shadows. Professional movement. Even now. Nathan followed carefully until they reached a side window glowing warm against the snowstorm outside. Inside, Harold's relatives tore the cabin apart. Drawers dumped. Floorboards exposed. Gun safes opened. Greed. Pure greed. The impatient grandson Nathan saw earlier slammed a cabinet shut furiously. There has to be another key. Nathan looked down slowly toward the brass key in his hand. That explained things. A woman near the fireplace hissed angrily. That stupid dog was always with him. Another relative answered. Then find the damn mutt before animal control does. Ranger's ears flattened slightly hearing them. Not fear. Betrayal. The dog trusted these people once. That realization hit harder than expected. Nathan crouched beside Ranger quietly. They abandoned you after the funeral. The old K9 looked toward the warm cabin windows. Then away. Pain. Real pain. Dogs understood loss differently than humans. Cleaner somehow. Less selfish. Then Nathan noticed something else. Ranger kept staring toward the old grandfather clock near the fireplace inside the cabin. Not random. Focused attention. The grandson suddenly shouted. Grandpa hid millions somewhere. Silence hit the room instantly. Nathan's eyes narrowed. Millions? Interesting story. Very interesting story. The woman near the fireplace lowered her voice. He told the dog before he died. Nathan blinked once. What? The grandson answered bitterly. He trusted that animal more than us. Probably for good reason. Ranger quietly stood beside Nathan now. Then nudged the brass key toward the grandfather clock visible through the window. Nathan's pulse slowed instantly. Oh no. Harold didn't just train the dog. He left instructions with him. The grandson suddenly moved toward the front door. Find Ranger. Too late, because Ranger already chose who he trusted instead. Nathan and Ranger disappeared into the snow seconds before the cabin door opened. The impatient grandson stepped outside, scanning the frozen property with a flashlight. You stupid dog. Ranger didn't react. The retired K9 stayed perfectly still beneath the porch shadows beside Nathan like years of operational discipline still lived inside his bones. Good dog. Very good dog. The grandson stomped through the snow angrily. He couldn't have gone far. Nathan studied him carefully now. Expensive boots. City hands. Fake toughness. Not a man who understood loyalty. Inside the cabin, voices continued arguing loudly. One woman shouted, Harold wouldn't hide money from family. Another answered immediately, he hid something. Nathan's eyes shifted toward the grandfather clock through the frosted window again. Ranger nudged his hand once. Urgent. The dog wanted inside. Interesting. Very interesting. The grandson circled toward the back sheds, still searching while snow thickened harder across the property. Nathan whispered quietly, lead the way. Ranger moved instantly. Silent. Professional. The old K9 slipped toward the rear cellar entrance beneath the cabin deck instead of the main door. Of course. Alternative entry. Harold never stopped thinking tactically. Nathan followed carefully down the icy cellar stairs while wind howled through the Montana pines around them. The basement smelled like old wood, oil, and cold stone. Military storage shelves lined the walls. Old deployment trunks, fishing gear, emergency supplies, and one thing immediately stood out. The basement was untouched. The greedy relatives never searched down here. Too impatient. Too focused on obvious wealth. Ranger walked directly toward the ceiling beneath the grandfather clock upstairs. Then sat. Nathan frowned slightly. You want me to move it? The old K9 barked once softly. Yes. Nathan climbed the basement stairs, carefully listening to the voices above. Still arguing. Still distracted. Perfect. He slipped into the main floor silently through the side kitchen while the family searched bedrooms upstairs now. The grandfather clock stood alone beside the fireplace. Ancient oak wood. Civil War era maybe. Heavy enough to crush a man. Nathan checked the brass key again. Tiny. Not for the clock itself. Then Ranger walked beside the clock and pawed once at the floorboards underneath. Nathan crouched carefully. One floorboard near the clock showed slight scrape marks. Recently moved. Interesting. Very interesting. Nathan slid his knife beneath the wood edge carefully and lifted. Hidden compartment. Inside sat an old steel lockbox coated in dust. And suddenly footsteps thundered upstairs. Someone coming down. Nathan grabbed the box instantly while Ranger moved beside the hallway entrance ready. The impatient grandson appeared first. Then froze. His eyes locked onto the open floor compartment immediately. Oh hell no! The grandson lunged forward instantly. Nathan stood smoothly between him and the lockbox. Calm. Controlled. Dangerous. The man pointed furiously. That belongs to my family. Nathan answered coldly. Funny. Harold left the key with Ranger. Silence. The grandson's face twisted with real hatred now. Not grief. Not frustration. Entitlement. The rest of the family rushed downstairs hearing the shouting. One woman gasped seeing the lockbox. Oh my God! The grandson shoved toward Nathan again. Give it here. Ranger growled. Deep. Serious. The entire room froze. The old K9 stood directly beside Nathan with military stillness. Eyes locked onto the grandson like he already judged his character years ago. Good dog. Very good judge. Nathan slowly held up the brass key. Harold trusted the dog. Then he looked directly at the grandson. Not you. That sentence landed like a knife. Because everyone in the room knew it was true. The woman near the fireplace whispered softly. What's inside? Nathan studied the lockbox carefully. No markings. Heavy steel. Military-grade hinges. Interesting. He inserted the brass key slowly. Click. The lock opened. And inside, not money, documents, photographs, military files, plus one sealed envelope marked. For the man Ranger chooses. The room went silent. Nathan felt every instinct sharpen instantly. Because Harold planned this carefully. Very carefully. The grandson lunged again. Nathan shut the box immediately. Too late. Ranger moved first. The old K9 exploded into a full military warning bark that shook the entire cabin. Not attack. Command presence. And astonishingly, everybody stopped moving instantly. Even after retirement. Even after age. Ranger still controlled rooms. The cabin felt different after Ranger barked. Heavier. Like Harold himself still stood somewhere inside watching everyone. Snow hammered the windows harder while fire crackled low inside the stone fireplace. Nobody spoke for several seconds. The grandson looked furious. Humiliated. Good. Nathan slowly picked up the sealed envelope again. For the man Ranger chooses. The handwriting belonged to Harold. No doubt. The grandson pointed angrily. You can't take that. Nathan ignored him completely. Instead, he looked down at Ranger beside the fireplace. The retired K9 sat calmly now. Watching. Waiting. Like the hardest part already happened. Nathan carefully opened the envelope. Inside sat a folded letter and one old photograph. The photograph stopped him cold. Harold. Ranger. And a little girl. Maybe 8 years old. Smiling beside a fishing dock somewhere tropical. Nathan frowned slightly. Harold never mentioned children. He unfolded the letter slowly. And began reading silently. Nathan, if Ranger brought you here, then I was right about you. First thing you need to know. My family thinks I hid money. I didn't. I hid the truth. Nathan's pulse slowed instantly. Oh no. Harold continued. 22 years ago during a joint operation near Cebu, Philippines, Ranger and I uncovered a trafficking network using shipping companies along the Pacific routes. One child survived. Her name was Elena. I brought her home when nobody else would. The cabin suddenly felt very quiet. Nathan kept reading. I never legally adopted her because the men involved still had reach inside governments and corporations. Keeping her unofficial kept her invisible. Jesus Christ. The grandson looked impatient now. What does it say? Nathan ignored him again. Harold's handwriting grew shakier farther down the page. Silver Tide Fisheries helped move money through shell shipping companies tied to those operations years ago. Nathan froze completely. Silver Tide. The same company from Port Mercy. No coincidence. Very bad coincidence. The woman near the fireplace whispered nervously. What's wrong? Nathan continued reading. Elena inherited everything legally 3 years ago after the trusts matured. The family never knew because I protected her identity. The room exploded instantly. What? That's impossible. He gave everything away? Greed surfaced immediately. Ugly greed. Nathan barely heard them anymore, because the final line mattered most. If anything happens to me, Ranger will take you to Elena. Protect them both. The cabin went silent again. The grandson looked pale now, then angry, then dangerous. Who the hell is Elena? Nathan folded the letter slowly. Not your victim. The grandson snapped completely. That old man was manipulated by some random girl. Ranger growled low instantly. Deep warning. Nathan looked toward the old K9 carefully. The dog wasn't reacting to insults. He reacted to threat. Interesting. Very interesting. Then Nathan noticed something else inside the lockbox. A second key. Different shape. Attached to a motel keychain. Blackwater Pines. Room 17. The woman gasped softly. That motel closed years ago. Nathan's instincts sharpened instantly. Hidden location. Emergency fallback point. Harold built contingency plans around Ranger. Smart man. The grandson suddenly stepped toward Nathan again. You're not leaving with that. Nathan stood slowly. The cabin temperature seemed to drop. Try stopping me. Silence. Nobody moved. Because now everyone understood something important. Nathan Creed wasn't just an old teammate. He was still dangerous. Then Ranger stood beside him carrying the second key carefully in his mouth. Ready to move. Ready for the next step. The grandson's expression darkened into something colder now. Do you even know where this Elena woman is? Nathan looked toward the photograph again. Little girl beside tropical ducks. Smiling with Harold and Ranger. Then toward the motel key. No. The grandson smirked slightly. Then you're already too late. Bad sentence. Very bad sentence. Because men only sounded that confident when they already sent someone ahead. And outside, through the heavy Montana snowstorm, headlights suddenly appeared climbing the road toward the cabin. The headlights cut through the Montana snowstorm like knives. 2 black SUVs climbed the frozen road toward Harold's cabin, while snow whipped violently across the pines outside. Nobody inside spoke, but everybody understood something immediately. Those vehicles weren't family. The grandson noticed them too, and the brief panic crossing his face told Nathan everything he needed to know. Interesting. Very interesting. Nathan's voice stayed calm. You called someone. The grandson snapped back too quickly. I don't know who that is. Bad lie. Ranger growled low beside the fireplace while staring directly toward the approaching lights. Not fear. Recognition. The old K9 knew danger when he smelled it. The woman near the fireplace looked terrified now. Who's Elena? Nathan ignored the question. Because right now only one thing mattered. Getting out before whoever arrived blocked the mountain road. The SUVs stopped outside. Doors opened. Heavy boots hit snow. Professional movement. Not local law enforcement. Nathan grabbed the lockbox immediately. Back exit. The grandson moved suddenly toward the hallway. Too sudden. Too deliberate. Ranger intercepted instantly. The retired K9 stepped directly into the man's path with military precision and a growl deep enough to freeze everyone in place. Good dog. Very good dog. Nathan looked coldly at the grandson. You already sold them out. Silence. Then someone outside pounded hard against the front door. Boom. 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 A voice shouted through the storm. Federal Recovery Division. Open the door. Nathan's instincts screamed immediately. Fake. No agency announced itself like that during covert recovery operations. The grandson looked nervous now. Good. Maybe he finally realized greed made him disposable too. Nathan pointed toward the basement stairs. Move. The woman and older relatives obeyed instantly. Fear overrode greed fast once armed men appeared in snowstorms. The pounding grew louder. The front lock cracked. Ranger backed slowly beside Nathan, protecting the retreat toward the cellar. Then another voice shouted outside. We know the dog is inside. Oh, that explained everything. They weren't here for money. They were here for Ranger. Very bad. Nathan descended into the basement quickly while the cabin door finally splintered upstairs beneath the assault. Voices flooded the main floor. Search everything. Find the box. Secure the K9. Ranger suddenly moved deeper into the basement without hesitation. Leading again. Nathan followed immediately through rows of old military trunks and emergency supplies until the retired K9 stopped beside an ancient furnace against the rear stone wall. Then Ranger pawed once at the concrete floor. Hidden exit. Of course. Harold never trusted single-entry structures. Nathan searched quickly and found an old steel pull ring hidden beneath coal dust. He pulled hard. A concealed tunnel hatch opened beneath the furnace. Cold mountain air rushed upward instantly. The older relatives stared in disbelief. What is this place? Nathan almost smiled. A seal's house. The pounding upstairs turned violent again. Furniture breaking. Men shouting. Boots hitting floorboards. Close. Too close. Nathan motioned toward the tunnel. Move now. The family scrambled downward into the darkness while Ranger waited beside the opening until everyone entered first. Discipline even now. The retired K9 descended last beside Nathan as footsteps thundered directly overhead. Then, gunshots exploded upstairs. Everybody froze. Not warning shots. Execution panic. The woman gasped softly. Oh God! Nathan shut the hidden hatch above them quietly. Darkness swallowed the tunnel. Only Ranger kept moving confidently forward through the old escape passage beneath the Montana mountain. The tunnel stretched deep beneath the frozen hillside. Old mining architecture. Reinforced support beams. Emergency lantern wiring. Harold built this carefully. Very carefully. Nathan moved through the darkness with one flashlight while snowstorm wind howled faintly through hidden ventilation shafts above. The older relatives stumbled behind them, terrified now. Good. Fear stripped entitlement quickly. The grandson remained silent the entire time. Too silent. Nathan didn't trust that. Ranger walked point position ahead of everyone despite old age and stiff joints. Still working. Still protecting. The retired K9 suddenly stopped near a rusted junction gate halfway through the tunnel. Growled softly. Nathan turned instantly. What? Then he heard it too. Metal movement behind them. Someone opened the tunnel entrance. Damn. Fast. Very fast. The grandson lowered his eyes. Confirmation enough. Nathan grabbed him instantly by the coat. You told them about the tunnel. The man panicked immediately. They said they only wanted the dog. Ranger's growl deepened dangerously. The woman looked horrified. You sold Grandpa's dog? The grandson snapped defensively. You don't understand what Harold was hiding. Nathan shoved him hard against the tunnel wall. Then explain it. The man's fear finally broke. Silvertide wasn't just shipping fish. Silence. Interesting. Very interesting. Nathan loosened his grip slightly. The grandson swallowed hard. My grandfather found offshore accounts tied to trafficking routes years ago. There it is. The old seal stumbled onto money laundering connected to human trafficking operations. And instead of taking the money, Harold protected a child survivor. The grandson continued shakily. He hid evidence in the trusts. The woman whispered in horror. Oh my God! Nathan's pulse slowed dangerously, because now everything made sense. Why Ranger mattered. Why Elena stayed hidden. Why armed recovery teams crossed a Montana blizzard searching for an old retired K9. Harold didn't hide money. He hid proof. Then Ranger barked sharply. Immediate warning. Flashlights appeared at the far end of the tunnel behind them. Too close. Nathan killed his flashlight instantly. Darkness swallowed everyone. Voices echoed faintly through the passage. Thermal scan picked up movement. The dog's still alive. The grandson whispered fearfully, "They're going to kill us." Nathan answered calmly, "Only if we stay still." Ranger suddenly turned toward a narrow side tunnel almost invisible beneath collapsed timber supports. Secondary route. Of course. Harold planned fallback paths too. Nathan motioned everyone forward quietly. The side passage descended deeper beneath the mountain while armed recovery teams swept through the main tunnel behind them. One flashlight beam passed only feet away through the darkness. Close. Very close. Ranger never made a sound. Professional until the end. The hidden tunnel eventually opened into something unexpected. An underground mining chamber. Massive. Ancient. Frozen with time. And parked inside, an old military transport truck covered beneath camouflage tarps. Nathan stared. No way. Harold built a hidden escape cache beneath Quietus Mountain. The older woman whispered softly. He was preparing for war. No. Nathan looked toward Ranger. Not war. Protection. The retired K-9 walked directly toward the truck and sat beside the driver's door, waiting. Then Nathan noticed a photograph taped inside the dusty windshield. Recent. A grown woman now. Dark hair. Sharp eyes. Early 30s. Elena. Alive. And written beneath the photograph in Harold's handwriting. If Ranger brings you here, they found US first. Nathan stared at Elena's photograph for several long seconds. The woman in the picture stood beside an ocean harbor somewhere tropical holding a young German shepherd puppy against her chest. Same silver eyes as Ranger. Interesting. Very interesting. Harold stayed connected to her all these years. Protected her from a distance. The older relatives gathered silently around the hidden truck now, while snowmelt dripped slowly through cracks in the mining chamber ceiling. Then Nathan noticed something else taped beneath the photo. Coordinates. Offshore coordinates. Pacific Ocean. The grandson looked pale reading them. Oh no! Nathan turned sharply. What? The man swallowed hard. Silver Tide still runs routes through those waters. There it is. Harold didn't just hide evidence. He uncovered an active network still operating. And somebody powerful wanted everything erased. Footsteps echoed faintly from the tunnel entrance behind them. Closer now. Recovery teams still searching. Ranger moved instantly toward the truck's rear cargo compartment and barked once sharply. Nathan opened it fast. Inside sat military supply crates, emergency fuel, weapons lockers, and dozens of waterproof document containers. Evidence. Years of evidence. Photographs. Shipping records. Bank transfers. Names. Jesus Christ. The old seal built a dead man archive beneath a ghost town mountain. The woman near Nathan whispered. He was gathering proof this whole time. Nathan looked toward Ranger carefully. And guarding it. The retired K-9 sat proudly beside the crates despite exhaustion and age. Good dog. Very good soldier. Then voices echoed loudly through the mining chamber tunnels. They came this way. Time gone. Nathan made decisions instantly. You three take the truck. The older relatives blinked. What about you? Nathan loaded a shotgun from the weapons crate smoothly. Ranger and I finished this. The grandson looked terrified now. Those men aren't security contractors. Nathan already knew. The recovery teams moved too professionally, too quietly, too efficiently. Private extraction operators. Maybe ex-military. Maybe worse. Then Ranger suddenly walked toward the front of the truck again and nudged a small leather pouch toward Nathan. Inside sat another letter from Harold. Short. Simple. If they came for Ranger, they already know Elena survived. Don't let them reach her. Nathan folded the letter slowly. Mission changed instantly. This wasn't inheritance anymore. This was protection. The voices grew closer outside the chamber. Flashlights swept across tunnel walls now. The woman grabbed Nathan's arm quietly. Will we see Elena? Nathan looked toward the coordinates again. Then toward Ranger. The old K-9 held steady eye contact. Yes, that was the mission now. Find Elena before the men hunting Harold's secrets did. Then the first recovery operator entered the mining chamber. Black tactical gear. Suppressed rifle. Thermal optics. He froze seeing Nathan standing beside the hidden evidence crates. Then his eyes shifted toward Ranger, and something unexpected crossed the operator's face. Fear. Real fear. The man whispered softly into his comms. Ranger's alive. The operator backed up the moment he said Ranger's name. Not tactical repositioning. Fear. Nathan noticed instantly. Interesting. Very interesting. The recovery operative raised his suppressed rifle carefully but never stopped staring at the old German shepherd beside the evidence crates. Like the dog itself terrified him more than the weapons. Then another operator entered behind him. And froze too. Oh hell! Ranger stood slowly beside Nathan. Gray muzzle. Old scars. Arthritic legs. Yet somehow the entire mining chamber changed around him. The retired K9 still carried command presence. Good dog. Very good legend. Nathan's voice stayed calm. You know who he is. The lead operator swallowed hard. We were told Ranger died years ago. Nathan almost smiled. Looks disappointed to see you too. The second operator lowered his rifle slightly. Bad discipline. Fear always weakened discipline. Then Nathan noticed the patch beneath their tactical jackets. Blackwater Maritime Logistics. Not government. Private extraction company. Silvertide's real muscle. The lead operator tried recovering confidence. Hand over the evidence. Nathan answered instantly. No. Silence. Snowstorm wind echoed faintly through the underground mining tunnels while lantern light flickered across the evidence crates. Then Ranger growled. Low. Controlled. Dangerous. The lead operator physically hesitated. Interesting reaction. Very interesting reaction. Nathan's instincts clicked suddenly. These men knew Harold. The operator's jaw tightened instantly. There it is. The second operative finally whispered quietly. He saved our team once. Oh, now everything shifted. Nathan lowered the shotgun slightly. Afghanistan. The man nodded once slowly. Mountain extraction mission. Ranger found us after an avalanche. The old K9 stared silently at them both. Recognition lived there. Memory. The lead operator looked angry now. Not at Nathan. At himself. We didn't know Silvertide was connected to trafficking. Nathan believed him. Mostly. Because shame sounded different from lies. Then the lead operative pointed toward the evidence crates. But if those files leak publicly, people die. Nathan answered coldly. People already died. Silence filled the chamber again. Heavy silence. The recovery operators knew it too. Then one of their radios crackled sharply. A harsh voice exploded through the comms. Status report now. The lead operative hesitated. Bad hesitation. The voice repeated colder. Do you have the dog? Ranger growled again, hearing the word. The lead operative looked toward the old K9 slowly. Then did something unexpected. He clicked off the radio. Interesting. Very interesting. Nathan studied him carefully now. You're changing sides. The man answered quietly. We didn't sign up to hunt a retired rescue dog. Good. Maybe humanity still survived in some corners. Then floodlights suddenly exploded through the mining tunnel entrance. More teams arriving. Heavier teams. The lead operator cursed softly. Too late. Voices echoed through the tunnels. Different now. Professional. Aggressive. Merciless. Not contractors. Cleaners. The cleaners entered the mining chamber like ghosts. Black tactical armor. No insignia. Suppressed carbines. Night vision optics. No hesitation. No conversation. The first thing they did was shoot the recovery operators. 2 suppressed bursts. Fast. Precise. The lead operator collapsed instantly beside the evidence crates while blood spread slowly across the frozen stone floor. The second operative barely reached for his weapon before another round hit center mass. Nathan shoved Ranger behind the transport truck immediately. The old K9 moved automatically despite age. Still operational. Still trusting Nathan's commands. Gunfire erupted through the chamber. Bullets smashed lanterns overhead, plunging half the mine into darkness, while the older relatives screamed inside the transport truck. Nathan returned fire once. Clean shot. 1 cleaner dropped behind the tunnel supports, but more kept coming. Too many. The radio on the dead operator suddenly crackled again. Destroy the archives. Confirm elimination of the K9. Nathan's blood went cold instantly. Not capture. Execution. These men came to erase everything. Ranger suddenly barked sharply toward a side tunnel near the rear mining wall. Escape route. Again. Harold planned everything. Nathan sprinted toward the transport truck under gunfire while Ranger stayed close beside him. The older woman inside looked terrified. What's happening? Nathan threw the evidence crates into the truck bed rapidly. Harold's secrets were bigger than inheritance. The grandson stared toward the dead operators in horror. They killed their own people. Nathan answered coldly. Loose ends. The cleaners advanced deeper into the chamber. Systematic. Relentless. Then Ranger did something astonishing. The old K9 suddenly broke away from Nathan and sprinted toward the far side of the mining chamber. Directly into danger. Nathan! The retired SEAL turned instantly. Ranger barked sharply while standing beside a rusted mining switch panel mounted into the stone wall. The old dog looked directly at Nathan. Then toward the ceiling supports. Oh no. Nathan understood immediately. The mine. Harold rigged the mine. The cleaners opened fire toward Ranger instantly. The old K9 dodged behind stone supports with surprising speed for his age while bullets shattered rock around him. Nathan lunged toward the switch panel through gunfire. One cleaner spotted him. Stop him! Too late. Nathan slammed the rusted lever downward. The entire mountain shook. Massive charges detonated deep within abandoned support tunnels beneath Quietus Mountain. Not enough to destroy the mine, just enough to collapse the entrance corridors. The cleaners realized too late. Tunnel ceilings exploded inward. Rockfalls crushed the main entry paths while snow and debris thundered through the mining chamber like an avalanche underground. Nathan grabbed Ranger seconds before the first collapse buried the cleaners beneath tons of stone. The transport truck roared alive behind them. The older woman screamed, "Go, go, go!" Nathan jumped into the passenger seat, pulling Ranger beside him, while the grandson floored the accelerator toward the hidden rear tunnel escape. The mountain collapsed behind them. Darkness swallowed the chamber completely, and somewhere beneath thousands of tons of Montana rock. Harold's enemies disappeared forever. Dawn broke across the Pacific Ocean 3 days later. Warm sunlight spilled across blue water while fishing boats drifted quietly near the island harbor outside Cebu province. Completely different world from frozen Montana mountains. Salt air. Palm trees. Heat. Nathan stood beside the small harbor pier watching Ranger rest beneath the shade of a weathered fishing shack nearby. The old K9 looked exhausted now. Older. Like the mission itself kept him alive until the end. The transport truck and evidence archives survived the mountain collapse barely. Enough. More than enough. Interpol already received copies of the files through secured channels Nathan trusted from old operations. Silver Tide executives disappeared overnight. Offshore accounts froze. Arrests spread across 3 countries. Harold's secrets finally surfaced. Good. Very good. Then footsteps approached slowly along the pier. Nathan turned and immediately recognized her. Elena. Early 30s now. Dark hair pulled back against ocean wind. Sharp, intelligent eyes. And when she saw Ranger, everything else disappeared. Oh my God! The old German shepherd lifted his head, instantly hearing her voice. Then stood. Slowly, painfully, but proudly. Elena ran toward him. The moment she dropped beside Ranger on the pier, the retired K9 finally broke composure. Tail wagging. Soft whining. Pure joy. Family. Real family. Nathan quietly stepped back, giving them space while island waves rolled gently beneath the docks. Elena buried her face against Ranger's neck, crying openly now. I thought they killed you. Ranger licked her hand softly. Still protecting. Still loyal. Always loyal. Nathan handed her Harold's final letter quietly. Elena read it in silence while tears rolled down her face. Then she whispered softly. He never stopped watching over me. Nathan nodded once. He trusted Ranger to finish the mission. Elena looked toward the old dog beside her. No, she smiled weakly through tears. He trusted people who understood loyalty. The harbor breeze moved gently across the docks while fishermen worked quietly nearby, unaware of the wars hidden beneath shipping companies and offshore accounts. Ranger slowly rested beside Elena's feet again. Peaceful now. Finally peaceful. Nathan crouched beside the old K9 carefully. You did good, old man. Ranger looked up at him once. Tired eyes. Wise eyes. Then toward Elena. Mission complete. The old K9 closed his eyes slowly beneath the warm Pacific sunlight while waves rolled softly against the harbor pier. And for the first time since Harold died, Ranger no longer looked like a dog who lost everything. He looked like a soldier who finally made it home.